Federal is the largest credit union in the US. They're heavily relationship based for a few reasons. They actually have an internal score that, can favor you in your approvals with them more than the FICO score. And then also they pull FICO 9, I believe, which can also be a little more lenient towards like negative items and stuff when they're paid off. They can be like regarded not as much as like FICO 8. But they also have like any other product you could ever need in the future. So auto, mortgage, business products as well. Not the most robust of the business side, but still they have a pretty good credit card. Not for points and stuff, but for access to capital. And then those two insane credit building opportunities are pretty much why I like them, is the secured loan hack and the secured credit card, which I'm about to explain in a little bit. But real quick, in terms of getting into Navy Federal, obviously there's having family in the military, direct family, right? So parents, grandparents, spouses, siblings, children, grandchildren. We'll talk about the household member thing right now, but this is direct family only. So I'd say though that even distant family can be an opportunity. So a lot of times people just don't think outside the box enough. And even I didn't when I was first starting out. So my affiliation was my uncle was in the Army, and I called Navy. They said, hey, that's too distant of a family member. Sorry, we can't let you in. And I was bummed, and I thought that was it. It was over for me. And then I started thinking, and I was like, okay, my uncle is my mom's brother. So technically my mom has direct family that's military. So she can get in. And then once my mom got in, I got in because of her. And it was just boom, just like that. One extra step got me in. And then I could, bring my brother in and my dad in and all that. So whether you have cousins or uncles or aunts, sometimes it is just one or two steps away from bringing that to a direct family trace for you and getting you into Navy. And I would say it would be worth it. Obviously, it could be a weird conversation if you're just like, if they don't understand the value of credit building and all that. But if you can get them up to speed, that can be real, like worth the while. So if you have a direct family member that, so if a direct family member becomes a Navy Federal member, they can help you get in. You just click this option here. I'm related to a Navy Federal member. There is one other option, which is what I call the roommate play. You don't want to pretend that you have a family member. By the way, before we talk about the roommate play, you don't want to have a fake family member. That's not a play. That's something that can get you screwed up in 2 to 3 years out, and they shut down all your accounts or hold your money or stuff like that. It's not a play. I see it all the time though. It's pretty crazy. But so getting in as a roommate can be done legitimately. So it doesn't require that you have a family relation. It just requires that you're technically a roommate. So either they room with you or you room with them. The point is you're in the same house, right? And one of you guys, like that person has to be in Navy Federal. So maybe you have a buddy that's actually in the military or a buddy that can get into Navy Federal, and then you room with him, then you'd be able to get into Navy. If you use this path, I would say you shouldn't apply for credit or do anything with your Navy Federal account for 60 days. I would just let it sit. If you have their address on file when you join in, I would then wait those 60 days, change your address to your main address that you want to house in that's not their house, and then you can start applying for credit, because now that's going to match up with everything else that your credit has on file with. And if you want to do this fully legitimately, you could basically send a bill or two, so like a bank statement or a credit card bill, to that person's house, and now you have a legitimate piece of paper that says their address and your name, and you can submit that to Navy if they ask for it. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, and you'd be good to go. But again, like I said, I would wait to move back to your house before you apply for anything credit-wise. Hopefully that made sense. I know it's kind of complicated, but let's see. We have a lot of slides to go to. That's why I'm like, shoot, if there's questions during Q&A, I'll get to them at that point. I feel like, what do you think? I mean, Toby, am I doing all right?
Yeah, no, you're doing great. Yeah, you keep rocking.
All right, cool. So we spoke on the secured loan hack. That's the best place to do it. It will build your credit while also building a relationship with Navy. I think that's huge. High limit secured loans will show good comparable credit. That's a term that's basically just showing that other banks are going to be looking at the limits that you already dealt with, and that's going to influence the limits that you get on the personal side, but also the business side. Mostly like commonly talked about is like you can get double to triple on the business side. That's not like a law, but yes, normally we want to have as high of a limit as we can within that 10 to 20K limit mark on the personal to get those 25K, 50K limits on the business side. But yeah, for future installment loans and future credit cards, plus it gives you credit mix, right? This pledge loan hack. For those with bad credit, if you don't have installment loans yet, especially, you can grab these, whether it's the pledge loan hack or the credit strong products, with no credit check. So you can be giving yourself that positive blood flow, positive accounts that are battling the negatives that you currently have. And that will hopefully pad your profile as time goes on with positive payments, right? And with more good than bad, basically. And I think that's really important. Plus, again, it's no credit check. So therefore, you can't get denied for it on these products that I'm mentioning. Going over to the data mining side of the growth phase here. So data mining is getting products with an institution in order to build a relationship with them. So that way, when it's time to apply for credit with them, you've already built trust as a customer for some time. So it's playing the long game. It's what I call dating before you marry. You don't want to just pop up to the bank as a complete stranger and try to ask for credit. It's better that they know who you are, that you've been a customer for X amount of months, what your income is already. They maybe see some deposit activity, and you're actually building a relationship before asking for anything. And what are the general guidelines for data mining? I would say we want, if we can, 90 days of an account being open at that bank before we apply for credit at that bank. Normally, some banks are first day friendly, we call it, and you can get in, they'll hard pull you on the first day. This is normally credit unions. And then you can do like a double dip scenario where you get a card and a loan, or, you know, 2 credit cards or something like that. But normally we want more time on the books with them. As high of a daily balance as possible over that 90-day period, that would be great. And then direct deposit behavior is always great. Banks love to see that. Because of check systems, which is basically it's not a credit bureau, but it's a reporting agency that monitors your bank activity. We don't really want to go for, I'd say, over 5 institutions every 6 months. It's not that hard number. I've seen people do way more than that. It depends on the institution, if they're pulling check systems or not. It depends on just how they feel about you and your overall like bank account applications. But it's not necessarily credit related, it's bank account related. So you have check systems inquiries, but they're not credit inquiries. They're just focused on just opening, checking, and savings accounts. But it is something you have to watch out for. So I would prioritize what bank accounts you're going to get in that order of what's most important. Other data mining options, so just any product you can think of that they have. So checking and a savings account would be better than just a checking if you want to data mine more. Getting authorized user cards from credit cards at that bank, getting CDs, installment loans, retirement accounts, direct deposit activity. The more products, the merrier if you're really trying to get good with the bank. And so for people with negatives or bad credit, data mining is also vital for you to accomplish because it does not involve credit. So you can't get denied for data mining and rubbing shoulders with the bank in the best way possible. And it can help you get those approvals, even though your FICO is low, because they're looking at your relationship being so good. A great example of this, and Navy Federal is obviously like the best institution to probably do it at. This is like the power of proper data mining right here. It's a 25K instant approval online with a 594. This is a Vantage score, so we don't actually know what his real FICO was, but my homie Eli had done the data mining that I had recommended to him for him to do to the T. He did the direct deposits, he did the secured card, he did the 2 pledge loans right there. He did one for 1K, and then he ended up doing one for 9,500. And sooner or later, he got the pre-qualification to go through on the Navy Federal personal credit card, and he got a 25K approval, which I think is just insane for someone with that score to be able to get. And so again, there's FICO 9 and the Navy Federal internal score working in tandem with data mining to get a really cool result. And so here's another screenshotable little slide here, how to optimally data mine at Navy Federal. You want the checking account, ideally the flagship checking if you can, but now that's coming back with a monthly fee. They were waiving it for a little while, but I think it's back on to like $15 a month unless you hit like some qualifying activities. Savings account, they're going to make you one just because it's actually like you're forced to have at least a savings account. So I would have both of these. Direct deposit is more about the behavior. You don't actually have to go onto your employer and sign up. They can't really tell. They just can look at your ACH deposits being consistent. So every Friday, every other Friday, if you have consistent deposits, that's really what they want more than anything. Pledge loan hack, 1 is good. 2, I would say it'd be better. And we want to aim for 60 months or more on the term. And then activating OOPS overdraft protection. I forget what this actually stands for, but it's an overdraft protection service that you can get after you're 90 days in to Navy Federal. It's an extra product you can enroll into. It's not going to show up on your credit. It's no credit check. It's just something else to have that could be helpful for the data mining aspect. And then business checking. your LLC, I think, or sole prop can have a business checking with them. And there's no rush for that. It's not needed for any of those results, but it's just something to note that they have another product. That's going to help you get approved for either a secured or unsecured product, depending on your profile situation. Here's what that actually looks like, the Oops Overdraft Protection Service. This is the one that you want, because there's two. Like, don't get the checking line of credit. That one will actually pull your credit. It's going to show up on your credit profile. Don't get that one. They're right next to each other on the site. So just make sure this one says Oops. You don't want to pull the Oops.
Real quick,
Go ahead.
someone's asking,